I'm with Van Clothier, the guy behind me from Stream Dynamics here in the high desert city of Silver City, New Mexico, where Van is spearheading this fantastic effort where he got a grant to pay for over 100 installations where people are pulling stormwater off the street into street-side landscapes and on property landscapes so they get free water for life. Van is working with the city to reduce their flooding issues and also to reduce the issues of sediment getting washed into streets after storms, while providing people with free water to grow more verdant landscapes. That landscape behind him that's getting the runoff from the curb cut beside him, that used to just be bare dirt. Now it's turning into a little oasis, watered for free.
Okay, so this is a water harvesting curb cut in Silver City, New Mexico. We've got the water that comes down from the neighborhood up above. Several blocks of town are draining in this gutter. So we cut the concrete curb with a diamond saw and ground the gutter to divert the water. Then with a small backhoe, we dug a basin here, left a path and a low water crossing to access, to go from the front door to the mailbox in the street. Then there's another basin. It still has water from yesterday's rain. This soaks rapidly into the ground. Part of this project is that we don't like to use rocks except when it's absolutely necessary. And since there's a concrete inlet to a basin, no rocks are needed. This is rising up. It's not an erosional zone. After the first storm, we mashed some gravel into this channel. Just gravel will not be transported by gentle flow with a very low slope.
And that's a very shallow depth.
Yep.
And the feet don't get muddy for the folks walking to the front door.
Right, but this area is where there was a steep slope. So we came back after the first storm and we put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rocks here to control this steep downslope. These are the only rocks in the whole project. There's another basin.
So that's basically a rock mulch rundown, if you will.
It's a mulched rock rundown. And so this all used to be bare dirt at the beginning of last summer. It's had a lot of flows. It's completely greened up. My client planted a whole bunch of things, and you can see he's managing the flows with the shovel.
There, water channel overflow. Okay, go for it.
He's managing the flows with the shovel and trimming this grass, and he's got water going all the way across his property. And the rest of this area is greening up.
Nice, so that Siberian elm gets advantage of that water, overflow water that spreads out as calmer, shallower sheet flow. And if it needs to overflow, it can go into the creek as opposed to the street.
Yep.
Once it's been cleaned and made sweet. Are you into all this sweet stuff? Man, I am. If you are, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll make more. We're here in Silver City, New Mexico with Van Clothier, and he's showing us at the top of one of the sub-watersheds how they're redirecting water from dirt streets and paved streets into beneficial use. Take it away, Van.
This is 11th Street, which is dirt, taking a lot of stormwater from the university parking lot and solar array. And it used to go down onto the paved part of 11th Street and 3 blocks down and into our local creek, San Vicente Creek, with a huge amount of sediment, parking the sediment on the street and putting warm, intense stormwater with a lot of things that you don't really want to put into a live stream. So we built a rolling dip road drain here and reconfigured.
So Van, can you show us where the hump of that rolling dip is and where the drain?
Yeah, so you're driving down the road but there's a grade reversal here. Your vehicle goes up, but the water goes off to the side and into this grade control. This is made out of cinder blocks, and it's being colonized by Bermuda grass. Here's a little bit of sediment from the last storm, but since we have made adjustments to this ditch with little grade controls, and we've gotten the Bermuda grass to grow in the ditch, the sediment supply has been reduced. Nevertheless, this is a large sediment clean-out basin, and when this is full...
Can I just get a little more info on that, Van?
Yeah.
So you're not purposely planting this, because this is where you'll scoop sediment out if needed. So is that correct?
Yes. This is a sediment clean-out basin. This is where, during a very large storm, we will retain all of the sediment so that it doesn't clog all the other flow paths we've created. The water that leaves this basin is just water, and you can see the sediment, the sand and gravel drops out right here.
Yeah.
And the top of that little hump is about at the same elevation as the water flow exit from this basin. And then it goes across Connie's driveway, and here is an 8-inch diameter recycled PVC pipe.
Yep.
That takes, there's a flow splitter here. She can block this off with a brick and send it down the street to 2 other properties that have water harvesting features.
And just clarify, Van, so it's my understanding that once it leaves here, it hits the pavement, so it's no longer picking up sediment at that point.
That's right. Since we've managed the sediment, and this is becoming grassed in with Bermuda grass, this
could use native grass, but the Bermuda is here.
Bermuda works fabulously. You can drive and walk on it.
Yeah.
And it traps the sediment so that it doesn't go down the street and need to be dug out.
Yeah.
So supposing it's raining, she's home, she wants the water, it'll go through this pipe, under this berm, into another basin. And what I like about putting water in a basin is that you can use the basin as a flow splitter.
Yep.
If you imagine...
And a water source for adjoining vegetation.
Yeah. If you imagine a coffee cup with 2 chips in it.
Yep.
If the waitress keeps pouring in coffee, it'll escape the cup at the same time through both chips. Or one chip could be deeper or wider. You can, if you have a basin, you could manage flows after that. At present, it just has one grade control outlet that goes through her coyote fence, and if you want to come around here, you can see that it goes in a ditch along that fence and all the way to her garden.
Awesome. And will you maybe, where might the other chip go in the cup?
Well, there's a garden space on the other side of this fence.
For the neighbor's property, yep.
We could put another one here and manage it with boards or bricks so that after she gets her irrigation, she can turn it off, and this garden could get an irrigation. So we call this the 11th Street acequia.
Nice, stormwater acequias.
Yeah.
All right, so we've started pretty close to the top of the watershed. We're not going to go up to the parking lot and the solar array, but pretty much the top of the watershed of flow. So if water is continuing down the street gutter here, let's see the next installation down at that corner. So we were just up there. Water's come down here, and Van's at the next part of the installation.
Okay, so the tailwater from Connie's diversion, or if she blocks off her pipe, she'll send clean water down an asphalt street, which will pick up minimal sediment. But this is a very steep street, and the water flows so quickly, it's hard to get it to turn that corner and go into the diversion. This was an ad hoc curb cut built by my friend Abel, and it always clogged with sediment until we built that project up above to manage the sediment. But still, water could come down here so quickly that not that much of it would turn in. So this is a unique curb cut, is that we lowered the gutter. We lowered the concrete gutter about 2 inches to lower the water surface elevation and get it to turn this corner and go into this clean out basin. And then we're going under the sidewalk in a deep, narrow ditch that has a steel plate above it.
And you cut through the sidewalk, you made that notch, and you put the plate on there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And
perfect.
then it goes into a series of, I believe, 11 shallow basins with swales connecting them all the way to the end of this large property.
I'll follow you on the sidewalk. Just walk along pointing them out.
Okay. There's a basin, here's a channel, here's a shallow basin, here's another shallow basin, apple tree, shallow basin.
All these fruit trees were already here, right?
Yes, but now it's all of a piece because
Yeah.
they get free irrigation. Way more irrigation than you could give it with the hose.
Yeah, for free irrigation.
Sunflowers, basin, channel, basin, sunflower, jujube,
Nice.
growing
And all this was just flowing down
for
the street
free.
before, not being used, right?
Right. It all used to go down this street, turn right on 12th Street, and go out of town in the big ditch. Apple trees, basin, basin, basin. And I
Man,
think
what's the average annual rainfall here in Silver City, New Mexico?
it was historically 16.25 inches,
Yeah. And what's your elevation?
around 6,000.
So it's great to see, like you can do what we can't do in Tucson, because you're a cooler climate. You don't have as much water loss to evaporation. So you're able to grow fruit trees. You can irrigate them once established solely with stormwater if adequate amounts are harvested. We
Yep.
can't get away with that because of the dry pulses between the storms. So it's cool to see what
Right.
you can do, what we can't do in the low desert.
We're taking advantage of every attribute we can to optimize the exact situation we have, and every property's different.
Let's see more.
Okay?
We started up by the green truck there. There's the rolling dip off. Then we went to the corner, went around the corner. There's more work across the street. Now we're down here. So Van, what's going on here? How are you capturing the water?
So this client wanted to be part of our water harvesting program we have going on. So we did a curb cut here and a channel. And while we're here at the channel, I would mention
Yep.
that this sediment comes off the street. Look at this. This is a plunge pool, and this is the glide. And this is the sediment that came off the street. And what she needs to do is dig this out with a shovel, and you can see she's been piling it here after each storm to keep the inlet free. And this is you need to do about that much work after a rainstorm to keep this flowing so that you can get thousands of gallons of water.
Van, just before you go down there, can you just show me the groove you put in there and the little stop in the gutter Because this is a pretty steep street, just to ensure you've got water coming in.
This is not a steep street for Silver City. It's about average.
For Tucson,
okay?
It's steep, yeah.
But what you need to do is you need to grind the concrete down, and then on the outside of the curve, make this be vertical. You want this to be vertical on the outside so that water doesn't spill over so easy. If you have a vertical edge here, it tends to make the water go faster right in the corner pocket. And then a lot of my clients will put a brick. That's what my client did. She put a brick here and backed it with some dirt so it won't wash away, so that she gets more water off the street. Now, this benefits the street department because water going down the street damages the asphalt. It creates flooding, erosion, and traffic safety problems.
And you're sending it instead where?
Well, we dug this ditch with a small backhoe.
You're watering these cottonwoods for free, aren't you?
Yes. This is a Siberian
sorry.
elm, and this is a box elder,
Thanks for
Acer
clarifying.
negundo.
Awesome.
And so she's planted various things, wildflowers. This is a basin, and so all the earth that we took out of here made a berm across there so that the overflow from this system goes actually into the front yard of the house. This is the property line. We are on city-owned street right-of-way that the city has allowed us to transform into a water harvesting feature because it benefits the town. So these are street trees on town of Silver City property that are being irrigated for free by a project that takes nuisance stormwater off the street. And if it rains enough, it will even go into my client's backyard. And our project stopped here. And over time, you can see that she's been digging this out and leading the water. This is a recently led ditch. Here's a newly planted, I think that's an apricot tree. And so I love to work with people who are going to put the water to use and capture more of it, keep the inlet clear as she's been doing, and lead it farther and farther down. This water can percolate through this and get to those trees as well.
On the street.
In fact, we did another project around the corner.
So just before we head off here, something I really like about what you're doing here is she can grow this organically as she has the energy and time, but there's no rush to get it done because the default overflow of this water, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, is just away from the house, because the slope is away from the house, to the street on the other side of that hedge. So all is controlled, maintained, there's no risk here.
There's no risk. The failure mode, if she stops cleaning out the inlet, is that sediment will block the inlet and water will go where it used to go before we did the project.
Down the street gutter.
Yeah, so we always construct safe failure modes. If the maintenance isn't done, if something goes wrong, guess what? It's going to be how it was before, so this project doesn't create any liability. In fact, it reduces overall danger to pedestrians, bicyclists, vehicles, and downstream homeowners from being flooded by too much water. We're allowing areas that are safe to flood, like a corner lot. The more water goes here, the less water will go to places where people built their house in a low-lying area that's vulnerable to flooding and sedimentation.
And you're infiltrating water all throughout here, and thereby reducing the volume of overflow water.
Yep.
And it seems to me also a goal here is to get people to dramatically reduce or eliminate the need to irrigate with potable municipal water, but instead flip over to a system where they're just irrigating for free with captured stormwater that was previously wasted, forgotten water.
Yes, and we believe a substantial amount of that water infiltrates very deeply into the soil and percolates down to the creek, sustaining cold, clear base flow in our perennial stream, San Vicente Creek in Silver City.
So that water that infiltrates travels subsurface to feed the creek. It feeds the creek in the dry times. The creek can flow much longer into the dry times because it's not just a sudden rapid pulse of stormwater during the storm, where it's just in the creek and it's out the creek.
I wear sandals and I go out the back door of my office during a monsoon, and I was splashing around in the street gutter when it was flowing, and I realized the water was warm because typically in monsoon season it dawns clear, it gets hot, and historically around 2 p.m. you hope to get a thunder shower, and so rain hits hot asphalt, and it was delivering an intense burst of warm water that may have had dog poo in it, and putting that straight into a live stream with fish, not so good. It's much better to get that water to soak into the ground where the topsoil can bioremediate all of these things and actually turn them into fertilizer, so that only clean, cool water will migrate to the stream subsurface through the aquifer, perhaps many weeks to months later. So we're really doing everything we can to slow it down, clean it, and get it to soak into the ground.
Awesome. So I'm just going to step back. People can see if her front yard overflows, water can go through the hedge and it could go to the street, but hey, you've done more water harvesting, so you're going to catch it before it hits the street.
Yes, so whatever doesn't go into all the projects up the street, and plus by the yellow flowers behind that car,
Yeah.
is a water harvesting curb cut, and this begins a new urban subwatershed
Yeah.
defined by the perimeter of the crowned street, and this area here is already 1,500 square feet of additional area. So during any rainstorm, this curb cut will get flow.
Show me where that water goes.
This water goes into this channel and this broad basin. The dirt that was removed from this was used in a neighborhood, in a smiley berm for her neighbor's backyard project. So we're managing dirt locally so we don't have to haul it off, and it makes the project more efficient. So this basin will fill up.
Water this tree.
We're still in the basin. Here's something that she planted. This project was done 2 months ago. We seeded it with oats just to have a cover crop, and we mulched it. I could talk about the mulch later. She planted this wildflower. So end of basin, here's a water channel going past this mulberry tree, and here's a second basin. Since the driveway is coming up and there's the mailbox, there might have been utilities, here's the front steps, and so I didn't want there to be a basin here so that somebody can park, maybe get the mail, walk across here without going through a dip, and go up the front steps. So we decided to terminate the flow path here, and so we cut an outlet cut to return the overflow back to the street gutter. And so once it goes in the street gutter, it can go past the mailbox. it can go past their driveway. And then we're going to grab it again. So we used the street gutter to convey water for us where it was convenient. This is Doug and Jennifer's across the street from the dog park in Silver City. We did a 6-inch diameter borehole with our drill press. And as you can see, we started cutting right here at nothing. And by the time we hit the curb, we were half pipe. And so that's a little bit more than half pipe. So this is a very steep borehole entrance. And I really like this because the 6-inch diameter bore is the same scale as the 6-inch high curb. And when you look at it, it looks right. It doesn't look like some rinky-dink, homeowner design thing. This looks quite municipal. And it takes water. In fact, we'd built it, what was that, last Thursday? Last Thursday night, it rained and this whole system filled up. So this takes water off the street into a clean out basin. Oats has sprouted. We mulched it. Most of the mulch doesn't even float away because the way the system is designed, the outlet is only this much lower than the inlet.
Just an inch lower.
And so the speed of exit is very slow. As you can see, the mulch kind of bunched up here, and then it floated, and then it plastered flat against the ground. So this is ideal earthworm habitat under here. And
so you've essentially created a pool here.
Yeah.
Water will pool here before outletting.
And it's still muddy under the mulch.
Nice.
Even though the top of the mulch is dry. So it's during a runoff event, this fills up, stays full during the entire runoff event. When water stops flowing in the street gutter, all the water in here soaks deeply into the ground quickly, quite quickly. When this overflows, it goes into a shallow water channel that goes between these two prickly pear cactus. And you can see how grass growing in the channel retains the mulch. So the mulch doesn't get washed away like you might think if you manage your slopes and water flow speeds. So it comes down here.
That grass also acts as a living mulch.
Yep. Turns the corner, stays on the median, and then there's another basin here which filled up with water. This one turned out pretty good. During a high flow event, there was some bypass flow that got past the inlet and stayed in the gutter. And this filled up, lapping, but just a teeny little bit of overflow went back into the street gutter where all this water originally came from. So it overflows into the same gutter it came from, but way less frequently and cleaner. And in the meantime, it takes sediment off the street and gets a huge amount of water to soak into the ground and, recreate the sponge. Silver City's original name was San Vicente de la Ciénega. So it was a desert marsh that was turned into a town with too much impervious asphalt. By redirecting the runoff from this asphalt into the original wetland soils, you have fantastic results. It's amazing.
All right, here we are with Doug, who just got his street runoff harvesting installation done a week ago. Doug, what do you think?
It's fantastic. I couldn't be more excited. Yeah, they just cut this curb, the hole there, about a week ago. and rained that very night. And Van was so excited about it. He came here, and just to see it fill up, which it did perfectly, he was literally dancing in the street over there. I'm not kidding.
Awesome. And you're planning to do some plantings to then take advantage of that water in
Yep.
addition to your prickly pear?
Absolutely. They planted like a tree and some grasses and a few things, but yeah, I was talking to you. I want to get some stuff in the low areas, and yeah, I want to fill this up with you know, pollinator plants and all that. And yeah, I can't wait. It's going to grow quick, I'm sure, because I'll bet that first rain must have got thousands of gallons of water in there, it looked like.
For free.
For free. No charge. It's so good.
This is 14th Street in Silver City, New Mexico. The director of streets had a problem with sediment coming down the dirt part of 14th Street, and all those eroding driveways would splay sediment down the street for like 4 blocks. And they would have to run the street sweeper after a big storm to clean the streets. So we did a workshop with them, and we went over the construction of a rolling dip road drain. I'm walking up the berm of a rolling dip road drain. You can easily drive over it with your car. And even though we're going uphill, there's a grade reversal and it goes downhill. Here's a water channel, and it takes water and sediment into that basin, and that basin overflows on city-owned median and back to the street. So it has a designed overflow, but it's a sediment trap. So only clean water will re-enter the street system. We're keeping sediment off the street, but in 95% of the storms, we're also keeping all of the water off of the street.
And I'm going to look upstream at the dirt road, and you can see the gullying dirt roadside ditch. And then I'm coming back to you. Can you walk the water flow? So walk down this dirt road and show me how the rolling dip works.
Here comes the stormwater in a roadside ditch, and then at this point you can see the water turns because there's a raised berm there, and the water goes down that way, and you can still see it's muddy in the basin.
Can you walk that? You don't have to get your feet muddy.
Here are flow tracks. Oh, and check this out. This is a pro-grading lake delta of sediment that came out of the roadside ditch, and this is the street. And so now, instead of having to sweep the streets immediately after a storm or deal with a bunch of complaints, the city can let sediment build up in this cleanout basin all season and come by and take one big scoop with their bucket loader and put it in the dump truck. So it saves time, it improves public safety, and all this water is soaking into the ground and being filtered, and it's growing native grasses, and it's helping to keep those trees green, which also helps them be more fire safe.
Nice. So it looks like you had more concentrated channelized flow coming in, and then it spread out as more gradually flowing, shallower sheet flow through that vegetation on the downslope side. Is that correct?
Yes, because this is a basin, and if the basin were to fill, and it's filled about 3 times since it was built, then you can see the sediment is getting parked there where it enters the pool, and so we have relatively clean water. It has wash load, which is the fine sediment that makes muddy water muddy, but it doesn't have any sand or gravel or silt in it. And that water is going as sheet flow through the native vegetation, getting further cleaned and soaking into the ground.
Living filter, living infrastructure, watered for free.
Yep.
Thanks to your work, turning an eroding liability into a water harvesting asset. Love it. So I understand, Van, that you did this work as part of a workshop with the city. Is that correct?
Yes, we wrote a grant to the New Mexico Environment Department called Curb Cuts and County Roads, and we're doing several workshops with the Town of Silver City Streets Department, and we hope to be working with the Grant County Road Department, bringing this technology of rolling dip road drains and other features that simultaneously make the streets safer and lower maintenance for the city and the county, while putting this water to an ecological benefit.
And how many curb cuts will you be putting in at the end of this project? I understand. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? Like, do the adjoining neighbors have to pay anything to participate? You know, where's the funding coming from?
Okay, private property owners can receive a water project on the street in front of their house for free. The state of New Mexico decided that if they're going to do this, the property owner has to sign a 10-year maintenance agreement and a landowner agreement with the state of New Mexico. And we are budgeted to build 60 to 100 of these features. We're a little more than halfway done right now. I think one person opted out because they didn't want to sign the landowner agreement, but I think that's, it's only one page and it's not very intimidating and it doesn't really ask too much. I think it's fair. Everybody else has gladly signed and has received a project that's 100% free. We do all the engineering, all the work. We get here during the first storms and we watch it flowing. Even if it's in the middle of the night, I'm going to be out here watching it flow. If it doesn't do what we think it should, we will come back and regrind or move a rock or shovel some dirt until it's working correctly. And once we have accomplished that, we give the landowner a written maintenance plan and meet with them and show them exactly what they need to do.
And how do people find out about this project? How do you get people to sign up?
It's a small town. We've been on the local radio. There have been front page articles about our work in the Silver City Daily Press. We do word of mouth. People see us working, and a lot of times people will come by and they'll say, "Wow, you guys are working so hard. What are you doing?" And then Jacqueline will talk to them, and pretty soon we have a new customer.
I would imagine too, when they see the water flowing and being beneficially reused by their neighbor, that probably sparks them and gets them excited.
It's amazing how many times we will get a rainstorm the very next day or the same day we do a project, and we will come right back, and it's about the best thing in the world to get to see water flowing in a project that you just built. It feels like magic.
And what does the city think of this?
They love our work. The Public Works Director, the city manager, the streets department, and the parks department are working with us, and we're using this state funding to help them work through the chronic flooding and sedimentation problem that Silver City's always had. We have an advantage because we're a private company with state funding. We can work with property owners and direct water onto their property. This is something that it's not a traditional way for city street departments to solve their problem. Typically, street departments have to accept run onto the street and they have to manage it within the public right-of-way, generally building a giant ugly concrete thing at the bottom to try to stop the force. A better solution is to work with the community and talk to people and say, I noticed that there's water flowing in your street gutter. Wouldn't you like me to direct that into your orchard for free?
And Van, what sources you, what sparks you? Why do you do this work? I mean, this is hopefully, well, it is very much a growing profession. See more and more people doing this, but you're definitely a pioneer here in your community of Silver City, New Mexico. So, what sparks you? What sources you to do this work? You could be doing anything. I mean, you're a very smart guy. You've got it's all kinds of wild stuff you've done in the past. Why do you choose to do this now in your life?
It makes me happy.
What makes you happy about this work?
It's very creative work. Every site is different. You really have to use your brain to figure out how to manage the water and sediment and all the various uses of a town site. A lot of things are going on. People need to park, drive, walk, grow things, manage water flow, and we have to figure out a creative way to accommodate every single previous use plus one, and do it in such a way that the water harvesting feature doesn't hurt any of the other uses of the site, and in fact helps them. So there's that. Also, it's very satisfying to work hard and sweat and build something creative with our own hands and tools. And the best part is when you come back and you see water flowing in something that you built. It's amazing. You know, there's the continuity equation of cross-sectional area times velocity. But when you see water speeding up to go through an inlet and then spreading out into the pool, it seems magical. And of course, that water is the source of life in a high desert environment, and we get to watch all these things grow.